In a covert meeting, Russian President Putin instructed Wagner's CEO Prigozhin to bring home Zelensky's head. Now there are concerns that Prigozhin might do bad things for Putin, including the responsibility to cut Zelensky's hair. These allegations indicate concern for serious crimes. Russian President Vladimir Putin allegedly ordered rebel Wagner Group head Yevgeny Prigozhin to attack Ukrainian President Vladimir Putin at an important meeting after he tried to protest Zelensky's assassination. Initially, opposition was expected as part of a negotiated agreement to block Prigozhin's march to Moscow. But in a surprise move, he received a secret welcome from the Kremlin at the end of June. The man was arrested for insulting UAE nationals in the controversial car showroom fraud video, including the task of cutting Zelensky's hair. These allegations indicate concern for serious crimes. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed that Putin had a meeting with Prigozhin on June 29. Just 5 days after a group of Wagner mercenaries approached to overthrow the government, the high level of opposition between Putin and Prigozhin demonstrated the uncertainty in which Russia finds itself. The incident also highlighted Putin's dismissal of senior officials suspected of coup attempt experience. While Putin was enraged and publicly accused Prigozhin of being a traitor on television, his private actions showed a reversal and embarrassment for the president. The sudden change has fueled the expectation of turmoil in Putin's inner circle, with rumors of separation and rumors of Putin's replacement on the agenda. Russian President Vladimir Putin met with Wagner director Prigozhin 5 days after the failed coup, Kremlin. The unexpected meeting was reported by the French publication Libération about intelligence sources and was later approved by Putin's advisor. According to Dmitry Peskov, the meeting lasted 3 hours and invitations were sent to 35 people, among whom were Prigozhin's senior officials and his own army, Wagner. Meanwhile, President Putin is said to be praising his efforts in Ukraine less than a week after acknowledging Russia narrowly escaped war. All we can say is that the president evaluated the company's actions on the front during the special military operation, as well as the events that occurred at 6/24, Peskov said. Manager also asked. Wagner reiterated his commitment to Putin at the Kremlin meeting. They, leaders, said they were strong supporters and soldiers of the head of state and the great leader. They also said they were ready to fight harder for their country, he said. The president of Belarus claimed on Thursday, at a special meeting to end President Vladimir Putin's rule, that the mercenary leader and his soldiers, who staged a brief attack on the Kremlin in Russia, were in their camp. The deal raises new questions. The claims of Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko alone could not be verified, and the Kremlin refused to comment on the whereabouts of the head of the Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin. Where is Wagner's Prigozhin? Why is it important? Russian media reported that Wagner CEO recently visited St. But on Thursday, pro-Kremlin media published photos it said were taken at a mansion in Russia's second-largest city, Prigozhin, USA. Prigozhin is believed not to be in Belarus, but he may be in Russia, U.S. officials told CBS News on Thursday. It is not clear whether Prigozhin's presence in Russia would violate the agreement, which allowed the head of the Wagner Group to move to Belarus in exchange for an end to resistance, and promised amnesty to him and his soldiers. The contract will allow him to complete his business in Russia, the report said. If true, it may indicate that the threat from Prigozhin has not been fully resolved and that the Kremlin is watching him carefully until he decides what to do with the fat boys who might be loyal to him. Putin said Wagner's troops could join the Russian army, retire, or move to Belarus. But much of the deal Lukashenko brokered remains unclear. Last week, Lukashenko said that the leader of the mercenary was in Belarus, but on Thursday he told international journalists that Prigozhin was in St. Petersburg, and with Wagner's army in the base camp, he could go to Moscow if he wanted to. He did not specify the location of the camp, but Prigozhin's mercenaries were fighting the Russian army in eastern Ukraine, as well as on Russian soil, before the revolt. He also said that the cash and weapons seized by the Russian authorities were returned to Prigozhin. Putin's spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, when asked where Prigozhin is, shrugged and said that the Kremlin had neither the will nor the way to track Prigozhin's whereabouts, but his goal was the result of the opposition. The proposal assumes that he moved to Belarus. Lukashenko said that his government gave Wagner the opportunity to use the Belarusian military barracks, but the company has not yet made a final decision. The Kremlin resented Prigozhin's avoidance of punishment for his deletion, while others critical of Putin said it was necessary to deal with Sheikh Wagner to avoid too much blood, and received heavy prison terms, exile, and even fines. The Belarusian leader denied allegations that Putin may have forced Prigozhin to death, saying, "If you think Putin is cruel and vengeful, he wants to kill him, no, this will not happen." Photos show Prigozhin's house raided. On Wednesday, pro-Kremlin Russian online newspapers Fontanka and Izvestia reported Prigozhin's St. Petersburg mansion videos and photos. Photos, which the media say were taken after he was shot by Russian police, show a shirt laden with cash, gold bars and gifts for Prigozhin, including one of the country's highest awards, the Hero of Russia medals. Izvestia published many paintings that show Prigozhin wearing various wigs, false beards and foreign clothes, which Wagner apparently exported to Syria and many African countries. A painting hanging in the main hall shows a row of decapitated heads. A large commemorative sledgehammer that reads, "For important discussions," can also be seen on the photo print. The sledgehammer became Wagner's symbol after it was reported that Wagner's soldiers used it to kill opponents. Lukashenko asked about Russia's nuclear weapons in Belarus. Asked about Russia's deployment of tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus, Lukashenko said that the purpose of these weapons is to prevent any attack on the country. Both Putin and Lukashenko said some weapons were sent to Belarus, and the Belarusian leader reiterated on Thursday that some of the weapons had arrived in Belarus and the rest would be sent by the end of the year. Lukashenko said that Russia would consult him on the use of weapons, adding that he would do so only if NATO started attacking Russia or Belarus. "If I don't want something, if our people, our country don't want it, that means it won't happen. Don't touch us," said Lukashenko, "we won't use these deadly weapons."